builder's call of the new year, right? So this is perfect timing. The first builder's call for the new year. As a matter of fact, I am going to record today's session for myself. All right, give me 1 second and we're going to be ready to rock and roll. Okay, let's see here. Happy New Year. Okay, all right. So yeah, if you can actually, I see you, Orlandra. I see you in the chat. Thank you so much. You can actually put it in the chat. You can't unmute, but you can put it in the chat. So do me a huge favor. Drop your city and state and or country in the chat the way Alandra has done. She put Happy New Year's in there. You may can't see it, but I can. That's going to give some positive vibes and energy for today's training. All right, there we go. Thank you so much. Alaska is in the building. Mobile, Alabama is in the building. Let's keep it flowing. And I'm going to do record to computer.
Recording in progress.
Okay, great. Well, listen, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session. I see the chat is blowing up with people all over the country, from Alaska to Alabama to Charlotte, North Carolina. Cleveland is in the building. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Germany is dialed in with us today. Sacramento, California, and many other places is dialed in with us. Thank you so much for taking a portion of your evening to join our builders call. Okay, I'm going to get right into today's training. Let me share my screen number 1. Okay, there we go. Screen number 1. I'm sharing screen number 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through today's training, and I want you all to take some really good notes. This is the first builders call that we have of the year, and I want to cover something that's extremely important. And I know for a fact that many people set New Year's resolutions, but we want to be very, very strategic and intentional about our goal setting coming into the new year. Okay, now that the new year is here, and so what I want to talk to you today about is building smart financial goals. Okay, building smart financial goals, and so this is going to be the subject of today's training. So you want to write this in your notes: building smart financial goals. And the subtitle here is very simple, which is basically a practical framework for controllable investing success. Okay, so let's talk about what this means and how this really applies to you. Here's an important note, by the way. This information is general financial education. It's not personalized as financial advice for anyone. Please consult with a professional licensed person if needed. Okay, so why do SMART goals matter? Why do SMART goals matter? Here's why SMART goals matter. Because most financial goals fail because they are vague or market dependent. Let me repeat that. Most financial goals fail because they are vague and or market dependent. Okay. And so we are absolutely positively not trying to start off the year failing because we're not setting proper goals. Okay. And so what we do want to do is show people how to set the SMART goals and focus on actions that you can control. Here's the key. We want to help you set SMART goals so you can focus on actions that you can control. All right, because that's the only thing you really have control over are the things that you have control over. And so the SMART goals are literally designed to help you do that. You're going to see that the way we lay these out in terms of the activity is going to set you up, in my opinion, right, in my honest opinion, for long-term success. Okay, so now let's talk about what the acronym SMART stands for. Okay, this is what the second thing you want to put in your notes. SMART is an acronym. Okay, it stands for specific, measurable, activity-driven, realistic, and timeline. That's the word SMART. If you take the first letter of each of these words, you'll get the word SMART. S is for specific. M is for measurable. A is for activity driven. R is for realistic. And T is for timeline. This is what SMART stands for. So I need everybody to find your chat feature and put the word SMART. Put the word SMART in the chat feature. Put the word SMART in the chat feature. Okay, so here's what it means. When we say specific, what we're really saying is, what exactly will you achieve? Right? What exactly will you achieve? That's what we mean by specific. When we say measurable, how will progress be tracked numerically? How will we know if we are successful or not? Okay? How do we know that? How do we determine that? That's what measurable means. Okay? Remember, you cannot grow what you cannot measure. You cannot grow what you cannot measure. How do we measure this? All right. Number three, or the third item is activity driven. Here's how it applies. What recurring action will you perform? Right? Because again, we're focused on creating winning habits, a successful habit towards our goal. So it's very critical to identify what recurring action will you perform towards said goal. This is extremely powerful. We're going to break this stuff down. You're going to love it. Okay. And then the fourth one is realistic. Can this survive a busy week? You're like, can it survive a busy week? Like Noble Mike Jamison, what do you mean by that? Well, here's what I mean. It doesn't matter who you talk to. You can talk to the busiest person on the planet who's got 4, 5, 6 jobs. You can talk to the person who has no job. Guess what? They all say they're busy. They all say they're busy, okay? And so the litmus paper test is to determine if it's realistic, can it survive a busy week in your life? Because if it can survive a busy week in your life, then it's realistic. It's realistic, okay? And then the final step is timeline. What is the start date, cadence, and end date of said goal? And so this is what we say when we say we're setting SMART goals. We're going to give you the framework to be successful. And so by the time you get off this session, because at the end, I'm going to give you a homework assignment that you're going to do tonight, all right, with a partner of yours, and you're going to be able to see exactly how powerful this SMART goal framework is. Okay, so now turning goals into controllable actions. Turning goals into controllable actions. So maybe you haven't had a chance to read The Richest Man in Babylon. Okay, if not, then put it as a earmark to go get the book. All right, it's a tough read because of how it was written, but there's great content and value there. Richest Man in Babylon, and one of the things that he talks about in this book, The Richest Man in Babylon, is that you must pay yourself 10% first. Write this down in your notes, guys. This is a critical part of what I'm about to talk about today. You must get into the habit of paying yourself 10% first. 10% first. Why is this a philosophy that you must embrace? Let me tell you why. Because it supports the first law of nature. What is the first law of nature? The first law of nature is self-preservation. The first law of nature is self-preservation. It is impossible for you to help someone if you can't help yourself. So the first law of nature is self-preservation. And the only way to preserve yourself is to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And one of the ways financially to take care of yourself is to make sure that you always pay yourself first, no matter if you owe money or not. Because guess what? If you're in debt right now, whether it's $1,000, $10,000, $50,000, even if you don't pay yourself first, you're going to owe that money. And even when you do pay yourself first, you're still going to owe that money. So, but you're not taking care of yourself if you don't pay yourself first. And so you have to make sure that you are a priority. Okay. So now the first thing is the funding action. This part is called the funding action. And you have to agree tonight. You have to agree tonight that you're going to pay yourself first, no matter what. It don't matter. Whether you owe 1,000, 10,000, 50,000, don't matter. You're going to take care of yourself first, because if you're not healthy, if you're stressed, if you're sick, if you're not well, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. So the funding action is the first step and the critical step of this whole process. Okay, so now you've already agreed that starting today, if you haven't already done it, that you will absolutely positively pay yourself first 10% of what you earn. Per pay period, by the way. 10% of what you earn per pay period, okay? 10% of what you earn per pay period. You're going to do that starting now, not next week. No, now, next period, next pay period. Now is when it starts. First law of preservation is self-preservation. First law of nature is self-preservation, okay? Now, what that will do is it will help you. I'm going to share a couple of terminology with you here in the training as well. What it will help you do is start to DCA, dollar cost average, when appropriate, right? And we're going to talk about that in the training here. Dollar cost average is when you're making a constant contribution towards a particular asset over a period of time, your dollar cost average. And so, in other words, if you bought something that was $20 in one pay period, and then you bought something, that same thing, and it was $10 another pay period, but you've made a commitment to dollar cost average into that asset. Okay, you bought it for 10, you bought it for 20, and so you bought it twice. The average of that is 15, because when you sum it up, you've made a $30 investment, but you did it twice, so you divide 30 by 2. So the average dollar cost average is 15. Okay, so even though you bought it a little high the first time, you bought it low the second time, the average is in the middle, 15. So learning to dollar cost average, okay, the funding action is something you want to get used to. Okay, so number one, okay, so when we start talking about the strategies, you're going to make it a commitment to dollar cost average into whatever asset we're going to talk about in a minute, okay? The second part to that is the learning action. So the first part is the funding action, pay yourself first, the first law of nature, self-preservation. The second part of that is the learning action. This is actually not, it's not indented correctly. So learning action should be bold, just like funding action on the slide, okay? But the learning action step is where you tonight make a commitment to where you're going to participate in 3 25-minute to 30-minute sessions per week of learning. What did Jim Rohn say? Don't be lazy in your learning. Ladies and gentlemen, being ignorant is no excuse. You may not have the knowledge of something, but being ignorant is unacceptable. Because if you're being ignorant, that means you are ignoring the facts. You're making a conscious decision not to know. So we're not going to be ignorant by no stretch of the imagination. And so we're going to take actions, learning actions, to make sure that we're constantly not being lazy in our learning. And so that 25 to 30-minute session per week, you decide what that may be. That may be joining, a ladies empowerment call to get fed into from, people who have a like mind. That may be joining some of the live sessions that we have. That's a part of our platform. That may be, I don't know what it is, but you're going to make a commitment to have learning actions at least 3 times a week. At least 3 times a week. We will not be lazy in our learning. Ignorance is unacceptable. You may not know everything, just like I don't know anything, but I will not be ignorant, and neither should you. Right? So this is learning action. The third part of this is that once you take this learning action step, I want you to take a moment in your journal, in your composition notebook, and I want you to write what it is you received from that session. Listen to me closely. Whenever you complete one of these 3 sessions, I want you to take a moment, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I want you to write the main thing that you received from that session. I use a composition notebook. They're like $1 at Walmart, right? They're like $1 at Walmart, okay? But at the end of each session, you're going to write down the main thing, maybe even the top 2 things. I just write down the main thing that I learned from that session. Here's why. Here's why you want to do that, okay? Because every man carries a dictionary of definitions of your words. Let me say that again. Every man carries a dictionary of definitions of your words. So yes, you could be listening to a live session done by one of our educators. They could say something using words that they decided to train with. Okay, you could hear those same words, but because your definition of the words that they use may be different than how they meant it, meaning you could get something different even though you heard the same thing. Right? So every man or woman carries a dictionary of definitions of your words. So in order to make sure that you're processing what it is being said, you must journalize it. Right? So what happens is it gives you all know that the mother of all learning is spaced repetition. So what happens when you journalize it, you actually hear it 3 times. Right? You hear it when it's being said, number 1. You hear it in your mind as it's being said, the audible portion, number 2. And then as you're writing it, you're hearing it as you're writing it again, number 3. So if you follow what I'm sharing with you, you will literally take every impactful moment you get from a lesson and you will read it and hear it 3 times, which will help embed it into your subconscious. All right. Every session. Okay. Fantastic. Let's keep moving. All right. So now here's an example of setting SMART goals. Here's an example of setting a SMART goal. Okay. All right. So specific. What is specific? Open a broker account. That's pretty specific. Okay. It was a little vague, but I did it like that for a reason, because if you're going to be trading crypto, then maybe opening a Coinbase account or Gemini account or Binance account or Kraken account, right? Whatever. Open a broker account. Or if you're trading equities or stocks, it may be opening Robinhood or Open Cash or Charles Schwab or Fidelity or E-Trade, right? It's very specific. Okay, that's the first step. That's the S in SMART. We're going to open the account in the strategy that you're going to start tonight, if you haven't already. Okay, measurable. Remember, we talked about the funding action, which you get to, the learning action we talked about. Okay, measurable. You're going to make a contribution. This is an example, by the way. $25 every Friday. This could be every pay period, because maybe you don't get paid every Friday. Maybe you get paid every other Friday, or maybe you get paid bi-monthly or whatever, or you get paid monthly. But you can measure what your contribution is going to be, or what we referred to in the previous slide as dollar cost averaging. This is the pay yourself first part, by the way. This is the self-preservation part that I talked about, by the way. Right? You're making a commitment that today, that you're going to follow the principle of paying yourself first so you can have self-preservation. And that 10% is going to be whatever that dollar amount is. In this example, it's $25. For some of you, it's going to be $250. For some of you, it's going to be $2,500. I don't know. Everybody's answer is going to be different, but the philosophies are the same. Make that contribution per pay period towards yourself, and you can measure it. You're going to be able to measure it. Okay? Self-preservation. Pay yourself first. principles. The third thing, activity driven. Now that you've opened up your broker account, you're focused on self-preservation, paying yourself first. Now you got to align the activity, right? You got to align the activity to the goal. So now you're going to make a deposit and execute the strategy. So, you know, you're going to make a deposit and execute the strategy, whichever strategy it may be. So for me, I don't trust anything to memory. So I'll put a reminder on my phone, check the channel to see if there's any action steps to take. Right? So you're going to make your deposit in whatever broker you set up in specific, in the amount that you determine that's measurable. Okay. And you're going to execute the strategies on at your desire, right? At your desire based off what you see. Okay. Now, is it realistic? Remember, can it survive? Can it survive the busy week? Is it realistic? All right. Because if you earn, you know, I don't know, $3,000 a month, it's probably not realistic that you can set aside $1,500, 50%. Okay. 50%. That wouldn't survive a busy week. No. Okay. Is it realistic? Can it fit into your current budget? Of course it can. If you invest 10% of yourself, of course it can, right? And so now you can see how it all ties together. Yes, it's realistic that you can pay yourself first, all right? Go through your transactions on your debit card and find out how many times you did Starbucks, so you ate out for the week and paid for lunch and or did whatever. And I can't guarantee this, but I'm pretty sure the numbers would go somewhere between 50 and 100, or maybe even a couple of hundred for some of you. Right out the door. So is it realistic? Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. Okay. And then the last one is there a timeline associated with it? Every month you're going to have a monthly review. You're going to have a monthly review and a yearly commitment. You're going to have a monthly review of this process and a yearly commitment. A monthly review and a yearly commitment. Okay. Did I skip a step? Oh, no, here we go. Let me go back. Okay, here we go. Oh, I'm going backwards. Hold on a second. That did not go like I wanted. Hold on one second. Start the presentation again. Okay, there we go. Oh, so here, the review step. This slide got skipped for some reason. Okay, so this is my second to last slide. When I talk about monthly review, yearly commitment, this is how it all ties together. Because you got to have these funding actions and 4 core commitments, in my opinion, right? 4 simple things you're going to do that you're going to add to your daily disciplines. Number 1, 15 minutes a day to check to see if there's any action to take within the platform, right? Whether you're executing a trade or reading a market update, 15 minutes a day. So now if you work a full-time job like most of you do, it's no problem. On your lunch break, maybe it's a 30-minute lunch break, maybe it's an hour lunch break, I don't know. Take a portion of that and see if there's any action to take. It only takes less than 15 minutes. So if you're checking your crypto channels or your Forex channels or your stock channels, make a commitment, put it on your calendar tonight on when you're going to do this first step. Is there any action to do today? Right? Put it on your calendar. Number 2, 60 minutes a week. So the first one is 15 minutes a day. Very easy to add to your schedule. The second one is a minimum of 60 minutes per week. That may be joining a live session or a market update. Remember, we're never going to be lazy in our education. We're not going to be ignorant, which is consciously deciding not to know, ignoring the facts. Okay. We're going to be purposeful in our education and getting better at the things we don't know. It doesn't mean you're going to get a degree in investing or a degree in finance, but you will understand what's going on better over time. The way that you do that is you schedule a time that you're going to learn. Okay. And it may be watching the replay of a session because the session is recorded while you're unavailable. So the same time that people spend most of the time entertaining themselves, watching their favorite show, this is what your favorite show should be, in my opinion. In my opinion, right? 60 minutes once a week. It can even be on the weekend, by the way. Typically, people have more time on the weekend anyway. Okay. Number 3, 2 hours per month. 2 hours per month. Okay. This goes along with the plan because you're already dollar cost averaging into it. Now, for me, I use the last the last Saturday or the 30th of the month to do this part for me, where I'm looking at my portfolio as a whole. What did I do in crypto? What did I do in stocks? What did I do in foreign currency? Like I'm going to mind my business. I am going to mind my business, just like you should mind your business. Okay? What are you doing? For every family that's involved in our platform, you know what you're doing for your family, ladies and gentlemen? You are building your family's investment firm with your last name on it. Isn't that crazy? You are building your family's investment firm with your last name on it. And it's powerful because I believe, and I shared this with the team members, I believe that someone in the family, whether it's the grandparent, parent, or child, needs to know how to do what we do. And if it hasn't happened as of yet in your family, then you are the one. You're the chosen one to set this in motion. It cannot skip another generation. It cannot skip another generation. You're the one, whether it's the parent, grandparent, or child, someone must start the family's investment firm. It's critical, in my opinion. Okay? And once you do that, you start learning some of these principles as you evaluate what's happening on a monthly basis, to where you start seeing things like, hey, listen, I shouldn't be spending first generation money. You're like, what is he talking about right now? Yes, you should not be spending first generation money. Okay, let me talk about it for a minute. I only got one more slide. Okay, here's what I mean. When I got out of college with my degree, I was blessed to get a really good job working for Chrysler. I made good money. I parlayed that opportunity into a consulting job for Oracle. I parlayed that to an opportunity to work for IBM. And so I made good money. And so that I was a W-2, right? 6 figures, engineer, making good money. And so what I did when I made good money, when I got that check coming into my household, that first generation money, is that I attached my lifestyle to that first generation money. It paid for the car, it paid for the mortgage, it paid for the life insurance and the private school and the food, etc. I attached my lifestyle to the first generation money. I know better now, right? Because if something untimely would have happened to Noble Mike Jamison, and I've attached my lifestyle to the first generation money, the car, the mortgage, the insurance, the private school, the food, if something happens to me, then everything that's attached to that first generation money can be impacted. So a person can lose their job, a person's health can deteriorate, etc. And so therefore, you may go from 2 cars to 1. You may go from a home to an apartment. You may go from eating out to not eating at all. Who knows? But because you've attached the lifestyle to the first generation money, and you have an inability to recreate the same value, then therein lies the problem. Which takes us to something that one of our mentors said in the industry, Jim Rohn. He says, profits are better than wages. This is so profound. Profits are better than wages. Here's what he meant. He understood decades ago that profits are a result of revenue minus expenses equal profits. And you don't get revenue unless you have a business. And so when you are enrolled in our program and you are the creator of your family's investment firm, you are potentially creating revenue and you're deducting your expenses, whether your subscription or whatever it may be, and you're left with profits. And the reason he says profits are better than wages is because the profits is not the first generation money anymore. It's the descendants of money. The profits are the descendants of money. And so what you want to do is you want to learn to attach your lifestyle to the profits and not the wage. And so the profits pay for the car, the profits pay for the insurance, the profits pay for the private school, the profits pay for the food. So therefore, if something happens to the W-2, then the lifestyle isn't impacted because the result of the revenue is coming from assets and not the wage. Profits are better than wages. You never get used to spending the first generation income. You get used to spending the descendants of the income, which are the profits. I hope this makes sense. I hope it makes sense. It does to me. It does to me, right? The fourth and final thing. Give yourself a year to understand what's going on. It doesn't require for you to go back to school and get a degree in business, get a degree in finance. But what it does require you to do is take these funding actions and these learning actions and these principles and give yourself time and grace to learn. Ladies and gentlemen, I just turned 51, right? And when I was 42, I was embarrassed about what I didn't know about investing. Embarrassed, okay? But I didn't let that embarrassment continue for me to ignore what I needed to know. So there's no wonder that I didn't make $1 million in my first year. I came from knowing nothing at 42. Nothing at 42, okay? However, I understood something that Einstein said, which is the eighth wonder in the world, which is the power of compounding. The power of compounding your knowledge, the power of compounding your money are critical. So you must be committed tonight to at least give yourself grace of a year's time to learn what is going on. You have to. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself. So don't join or participate and think that because you don't know something or you don't understand something after 30 days or 90 days or 6 months that it's over for you and you have no chance. Absolutely not. But if you commit to these simple things that we shared on today's builders call in 1 year, after compounding your efforts of 15 minutes a day, 60 minutes a week, 2 hours a month, when you look back in a year, you know what you will see? Growth and expansion. You'll see growth and expansion because you've become someone different than you were a year prior, even if the difference isn't physically visible at the moment. The change has happened in the inside, waiting to flourish on the outside, right? All right, so let's wrap this up. Here's your homework assignment. You're going to partner up with somebody tonight. Your best friend, they may not even be in the program, and that's okay. But you're going to create a SMART goal tonight. You're not going to go to bed until it's done. I laid out the framework for you to make that happen. You're going to text your best friend or your partner, your workout partner, whoever. You say, listen, Noble Mike Jamison gave us a challenge to set a SMART goal tonight. Okay. And you're going to go through the specific, the measurable, the activity driven, the realistic, and the timeline. And you're going to write it down. And you're going to take a picture of it. And you're going to send it to your success coach and or mentor, because you're going to hold yourself accountable for being successful. Okay. Last thing, this information is for educational purposes only. Okay. This is not intended to be financial advice. If you need some financial advice, please consult with a professional as needed. Okay. So listen, if you can't tell, I'm excited and passionate about what we do. I firmly believe that we're in a special moment in time for sharing the value of what we do and how we do it. And if I can be of any assistance to your growth and development, please feel free to reach out. Take care, take charge, and we love you.
Recording stopped.